Mic Drop with Julia, where we get to see a person behind the title. And today, I'm very pleased to welcome Randy Bordon, who is the head of data governance at Cross River. And Randy and I have known each other now for way too many years. Welcome, Randy, to the show.
Thank you, Julia. It's always a pleasure to talk to you, either in person or on video.
Thank you. So the question I have for you, in your career as a data professional, what is the story that really makes you light up, that makes you happy?
As I look back, there's been maybe 2, maybe 3 projects that I've been heavily involved with as a project manager, but also as a data governance professional, where I feel very good for 2 reasons. One, because I felt that data governance contributed to the success of the program because it gave us a framework to make decisions about data, about who has access to data, who makes decisions about data, who owns data. So I felt data governance actually contributed, didn't hold things back. And the other thing is just these were projects that stretched across the company, involved groups from multiple disciplines, and everyone came together. Maybe we struggled for a while to do so, but we came together and we worked incredibly hard as a team to achieve a goal. And so that felt so good at the end of that. I often look back and I draw strength from those occasions.
Yeah, data governance, it's often seen as an audit function, but I always view it as an enablement of whatever it is that you want to do in your company, because data is underlying everything you want to do in any company anyway. And so data governance to me, it's like that central enabling that brings together technology and business and operations and gets a framework of how we make decisions and who makes what decisions, which also sometimes gets a little funky.
Exactly. I've always thought about data governance as an enabler for innovation, for invention. And as you said, I just remember times where we were faced with decisions about how do we structure a parallel test? Is that really critical? And we talked through and we said, well, from a data governance perspective, here's why we should do it. And here's why it will actually bear fruit from a business success standpoint. And that helped us come to that decision. A lot of times people react to it like it's an audit function with the same degree of pleasure you have when you're working with auditors. Nothing against them, they're great people. But I always think about it as a very positive force, and that structure helps people be more creative. That's something I get from my artistic background, right?
Yeah, I have a balcony that's hanging over the 35th floor, and if there wasn't a railing, I wouldn't be able to use it at all.
Right. You wouldn't go out there and enjoy the balcony, right? Because you think you're going to fall off. So it's the framework, it's the guidelines, it's those guardrails that give you freedom to actually explore that space where you would not if you didn't have that.
Exactly.
So, yes. Agreed.
So moving on to the next questions, if you're in front of a large group of data management professionals, what advice would you give them?
So I've had some thoughts about this recently, and I can boil it down to the fact that data is meaningless without context. And by context, I think of it like this. So let's say you're looking at a set of data. Let's say it's a set of prices over a certain period of time. Fine, what do you do with that? That doesn't tell you anything. That you can't evaluate that for accuracy. You can't evaluate that for meaning because you have no context. You need to know, okay, so is that an average? Was it specific stocks, for example? If it's an average, what exactly was the time period? What was going on with other averages at the time? That could tell me whether this is an anomaly that maybe I need to investigate, or is it telling me something really unique because, wait a second, if it's a certain industry, what's happening in that industry during that period of time? Is what I'm seeing rational given what was going on? All those things contribute to getting value out of that data. And I think the reason, Julia, this came to me recently is, like a lot of people in the data professions, I don't come from a computer science background. I actually come from liberal arts. Hey, I was a professional musician. I studied classical performance in college. I played cello. Not the only musician I know. I know data professionals who come from philosophy backgrounds and English backgrounds, and education backgrounds and engineering backgrounds. And I think the reason why people are successful in this field coming from a diversity of backgrounds is because they bring that perspective and they bring appreciation of the different and the deep context that's needed to understand data. So that would be the thing I'd really share, is that data only has meaning within context, and that context has to be as deep and broad as possible.
So you have data element or data attribute in and of itself gives you very little. It gives you something sometimes, but gives you very little. But if you're looking for insights, understanding the context and bringing that context into decision making, and even bringing the context into data quality management, for example, because the same number could be right for this and wrong for that.
Right.
And it depends on the context on how you're using the number and how you're using the attribute. So understanding the context and looking broader is always very important. This is one of the reasons every time I hear we're going to start the program and the first thing we're going to do is do data quality tool. Like, probably not.
Probably not.
Probably not.
Exactly. I remember getting asked in an interview to talk about how I would approach data governance from an automation standpoint. And I thought, what? You don't start with automation. What? I didn't really know how to go on from there, you know? I'm going to make a connection here.
Human beings, and then you go from there. Once we automate human beings, then we do well.
Yes, exactly.
Then we can go from there. Yeah.
No, you were there, but you know, we are human, and absolutely, I think data quality, sometimes you can look at it, people look at it in a very static way, right? They come up with their critical data elements and the tests they run, and then they start looking, gee, month over month, the numbers are flat. That's good, right? And well, maybe not. What else is happening?
Yeah.
Is our business growing, and yet this particular CDE that we have for balance of a particular product type is flat? What's going on? If that's what's going on, that could be wrong, or maybe if it's accurate, it tells us something about what's happening with the business, right? We feel like we're selling this product, but the actual balance.
Maybe not. Maybe we're selling it, but we're spending so much on creating it. Our margins are still exactly the same as the way before we started selling the product.
You're right. So I come back to that idea of context all the time.
Yeah. Don't forget the context. Well, thank you, Randy. Thank you for coming, and thank you for offering your insight. And I'll see you hopefully in a few weeks at another conference.
I will look forward to it greatly, Julia. Thanks so much.